एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्। हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमहसा स्वम् चिन्वता मुच्यता। अनचलनरूढा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावः। ओहं भावयुत कुतो दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मनः सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं। In this, the Thursday satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, the South Bangalore Center. As usual, we will be reading from the work Guruvachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swami. We will be reading 2 verses, each verse reading by short meditation on its meaning and a 10-minute practice session of Atma Ucharan. After these 2 segments are completed, there will be a summing up by our President, Dr. Sharadaka, and that will be followed by an offering of Ramananjali to Bhagavan, the chanting of it by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. We begin the evening satsang by taking verse 425. Selected for us. This is from the segment Investigation into Truth, which is the first of the three segments. The second being Meditation on Truth, and the third being the Anubhava or experience of the truth. The subsegment from which this has been selected is only self-realization is true omniscience. Only self-realization is true omniscience. Verse 425. O mind, you who move so swiftly and erratically, as though possessed by a frenzy. O mind, you who move so swiftly and erratically, as though possessed by a frenzy, other than the one consciousness that is not born from anything else. Is there a source for the manifestation of the universe that consists of moving and unmoving things? The verse is addressed to the mind. O mind, you who move so swiftly and erratically, as though possessed by a frenzy. The address is what is said to the mind by Bhagavan is that other than the one consciousness that is not born from anything else, is there a source for the manifestation of the universe that consists of moving and unmoving things? So the mind is addressed, and we should take the position or identification of the mind. And Bhagavan is giving us the Upadesha. What are we addressed as? We are the mind, the mind. It is not Nandakumar's mind or someone's mind, it is the mind. We are that. What are we? We move so swiftly and erratically. How fast we move from one thought to another. We know so many things. The moment we are here in Bangalore, someone sends a message about Joke Falls. Immediately, how the hydroelectric power project was built, how could it have been built? Then somebody sends a message about some captain giving up life and Shraddhanjali to him, and the mind moves there. What a sacrifice that person has done. And from there, it suddenly moves to the US, to some ice cream that we have eaten at some time, and from there to something else totally unconnected and erratic. These are the two things that the mind is accused of by the verse. We are accused of by the verse of moving swiftly from one to another, and seems to be no rhyme or reason. And what is the address by Bhagavan? What does he tell us as the mind? That whom we are jumping so fast, we don't know where we are going, but we are going very fast. Akka used to narrate this story of I'm saying Akka because that is the source for me. For this particular story, Akka, and of course I'll remember only part of what she has said. She says that Bhagavan in the hills, there would be times when he would sit and monkeys would come and sit in meditation. Monkeys would come and sit in silence around him. And it appears one of them moved and jump swiftly and erratically towards something. And Bhagavan brings him back by his Shakti, by his Karuna, saying, addressing him, he says, Enda Rajyam Kollapordu, what have you to attain by going after this manifested universe? Any part of the manifested universe, what are you going to attain greater than the stillness of the self? So remain silent. And the monkey, being a teacher to us at this moment, comes to silence and sits in front of Bhagavan, in front of that Shakti. Now, that is the mind that is addressed by Bhagavan here. And what is Bhagavan saying? You are possessed by a frenzy. It is a frenzy, a craziness, a swiftness which has no meaning and no direction, but very quickly we are doing it. The address is other than the one consciousness that is not born from anything else. That which is unborn, that which is uncreated, that which is unassembled, that which cannot be removed from anything. Ekam, Aksharam, that which is indestructible, that which has no birth and hence no death. Apart from that one consciousness that is not born from anything else, is there a source for the manifestation of this universe that consists of moving and unmoving things? Why do you move between moving and unmoving things? When the source is available, when the source which is the unborn consciousness, which is the Hridayam, which is the consciousness which has no beginning and no end and no thoughts, other than that and remaining as one with that, is there anything in the manifested universe that you can get and remain satisfied? It is not possible. And from where is Bhagavan saying this? Remaining within us. Now, with Bhagavan's grace only, we do Atmacharya. Because Bhagavan sitting within the I thought is giving this Upadesham to us. Don't be the mind and rush here and there and everywhere between the moving and unmoving things and expect to be satisfied. Because the only satisfaction, the only real happiness you will get only when you find and abide in that one consciousness which is not born of anything else. Everything else is born of something else. This consciousness which has no beginning and end, which is Satchit, which is Irundole, which is shining within us, that alone is the real happiness. That alone is the real education. That alone is the real waking up. That alone is the real sleep. That alone is the real knowledge. Other than that, can this monkey mind find peace, find happiness anywhere else? Investigate, says Bhagavan in this chapter on investigation in the truth. Find out, can you get happiness anywhere? All those objects you seem to get and they are plucked. Those pleasures are so fleeting. And this happiness, which has no birth and end, is timeless, is placeless, all time and all place. All the Kalyanam are contained in that Hridayam, in that consciousness. Why leaving this do you go after the moving and unmoving objects of this created, manifested world in an act of frenzy, in an act of speed, in an act of moving erratically from here and there? Stop all that. Inquire, who am I? What is my source? When the lady from Chennai asks, is this world only my thoughts? If I put my thoughts to the source, will the world succeed? Bhagavan says, let the world vary from where it is coming. You find out from where you are coming. Meaning that the world and you are arising from the same unborn consciousness. The unborn consciousness is the Paramapadam. So you go there. The world is also originating and made of that only. Now, to that end, Bhagavan gives us the Atma. To go to that source, the unborn consciousness, from which Isha, Jiva, and Jagat, they appear and disappear. So that alone is the reality. To go towards that, Bhagavan says, practice Atma Vicharam. See from where the I thought arises. Nanudiyadu ulla nilai. What is that unborn consciousness? Nanudiyadu ulla nilai. Where the I does not arise at all. Namaduvai ulla nilai. We are identified with the unborn consciousness. Namudikkum sthanamade nadamal. Without searching for the source of the I. Can you go to that place? Namudikkum sthanamade nadamal. Nanudiya kannadathai sarvadevam. Saramal tanaduvam kannilayil nirpadevam. If you don't seek the source of the I, how are you going to go to the place where the born I is not destroyed? And without seeking the source of the I, where is the abidance in that Paramapadam? It is not going to happen. So practice Atma Vicharam, says Bhagavan. And with Bhagavan's grace, for 10 minutes, let us sit in Atma Vicharam. When a thought arises, let the I thought not pursue it and try to complete it with more thoughts. But ask, for whom is this thought? Then the answer will come, this thought has arisen for me. Then that who am I? It will take the I thought to the source. With repeated practice, one gains the ability to abide in that unborn consciousness, says Bhagavan. With His immense grace, which has brought us to this sadhana, let us sit for 10 minutes in Atma Vicharam. Vaibhavji, you are here?
Yes, sir. I'll set the timer.
Thank you. Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Brahma. We go on to the second verse. The verse selected for us is 932. This is from the segment Experience of the Truth. And the sub-segment is Omniscience. So the previous segment also was something like that abiding in the self is alone omniscience. Omniscience is sarvajñatva, knowing everything. So 932, it is only in the view of others, the bound ones, who perceive many differences through their perplexed perspective. It is only in the view of others, the bound ones, who perceive many differences through their perplexed perspective, that the Mukta too is seen as if he is one who perceives the manifold forms. You should know that he is not a perceiver of anything at all. He doesn't perceive anything other than the self, so he is the omniscient one. Sees everything in the self. And the self in everything is one of the explanations given. I read the verse again. It is only in the view of others, the bound ones, who perceive many differences through their perplexed perspective, that the Mukta too is seen as if he is one who perceives the manifold forms. So Bhagavan is saying here that Drishtin, when the Drishtin that we are having is one of the divisions, when we are very solidly ensconced in this bound perspective of perplexed perspective, that these divisions are real. The waking state, the dream, the deep sleep are three different states, and I have three different existences there. In the waking state, so many real things are there, and so many safety measures are there. I can say all these things and I will be protected. Let me do these things, then there will be greater happiness. There will be greater power. Whereas in dream, I cannot do much. I have to experience. And in sleep, going up, cutting vegetables, and doing the various tasks, write like print, bind like more than a professional binder of books. All this he does. Therefore, I think that Bhagavan too is having this divided perspective, that I am separate from others and others are separate from me, and by acquiring and possessing certain things, I am going to be happier, and that is exactly how Bhagavan is happier. He is now in possession of something. He knows something that has made him happier than us. But he too is having the same perspective as me. The manifold forms are real to him also. There are some notes, explanatory notes. We go into them. This is from Padamalai. Though he appears to see things in front of him, Padam, the Jnani, is that extremely pure expanse, the eye of Jnana, that sees no object whatsoever before it. Who is Padam? Who is the Jnani? Though he appears to see things in front of him, Padam, the Jnani, is that extremely pure expanse, the eye of Jnana, that sees no object whatsoever before it. Uruvam Tanayin Ulagu Paramatram. Uruvam Tanayin Ulagu Jnaniyum Atram. Uruvam Tanandre Uvatrin Uruvate Kanurudal Yavan Yavan Kannala Kakshimundo Kannadidan Andamila Kannami, says Bhagavan in Golden. Because we identify with the body, with the form. Therefore, we say the world and the Jnani too, the God too, has forms. But the moment we inquire who am I and take the I thought to the source, Uruvam Tanandre, if we don't identify with the sensory, the breath, the mental, the intellectual, and the Ajnana Swarupa of the I, and take it to the source, the unborn consciousness, Uruvam Tanandre, what is the source of the manifold earth, the manifold worlds? The source is the same unborn. What is the source of the Ishvara, the power that controls and that runs like a thread through all the living beings? That is also having the same source of the unborn consciousness. Uruvam Tanandre, Uvatrin Uruvate Kannurudal Yavan. Who is left to see the forms of others? Everyone, how to see? What is the media that is present in which you can see? Everything is consumed by the unborn consciousness. Therefore, the Jnani doesn't see anything other than this Purana. The Bhakta who has realized God doesn't see anything other than Rama. The Jnani doesn't see anything other than the Atma. He doesn't see anything other than the self. Therefore, he is always enjoying the non-doership. The expanse alone is there. His hands may be moving. He may be doing things, but there is no doer. There is nothing is happening to him. Everything is that Spurana. Because the constant experience of effortless natural identification with that knows whether activity is there or not there. It is Sahaja Samadhi. It is natural abidance in that source. Therefore, even though to the other side he may be acting because of their bound nature, to himself there are no actions going on. There is only the Rama, 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 the I. The Chara, Charam, Acharam, everything is only this Purana. So to the Jnani, there is nothing other than this expanse, the formless self, which has consumed himself, the worlds, and the thread that connects everything, and it is stand alone. Therefore, the implication of this verse is that the sadhaka should practice Atma-ucharan and go for that anubhavam rather than judge the Jnani by the actions of the body that is perceived in the waking state. There are 2-3 more notes, but I think we'll go for the practice. Guruji, you can set the time for us. We'll sit for 10 minutes of Atma-ucharan.
Yes, sir.
Shri Ramananjali. Namo Ramana. I request our President, Dr. Sharada, to give us the summing of 2 minutes. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. We are all, most of us perhaps, are familiar with an episode which depicts the Shiva Parivara, Shiva, Parvati, Ganesha and Subramanya. That is an episode where Shiva is given a fruit, a very rare fruit, a mango, and he is told that he must give it only to one of his children. This is of Ganesha and Subramanya. It cannot be shared because it cannot be divided. This fruit of jnana cannot be divided. There is only oneness in it. It cannot be divided and given. It has to be full. So it has to be given only to one. Now, so the person is whom to choose between them. And so Shiva says, I am going to make a competition happen. Whoever goes around the universe first will get this fruit. So immediately Subramanya goes off on his peacock. Like Bhagavan has described in the first verse, in this story, Subramanya moves outward on the peacock and he goes around the world. And Bhagavan, it is said in that story that Ganesha said, oh, where is the universe? The universe is contained in Parvati Parameshwara. So I will go around them. Bhagavan actually says, Ganesha went around Arunachala. He sees everything as Arunachala. So Arunachala is Ardhanarishwara. Ganesha went around Arunachala as there is nothing else apart from that. Why should the mind move outwards? If it will move outwards, if you think there is something outside. That's what Bhagavan has told us in the first verse today. He says, if you think something is there outside, then automatically the mind will move towards it. But there is nothing outside. So Ganesha going around, he got the fruit. According to the story, Subramanya came back, he got angry and he renounced everything and went off to Palani. And there Avaya said to him, why do you want any fruit, O Subramanya? Palam ni appa. Jnana palam ni appa. You yourself are the fruit. That's why Shiva didn't give you the fruit. Because you yourself are the jnana palam. And Subramanya wanted the world to know this. That is always his compassion. Subramanya always wants to encompass everyone in his treasure. Because he does not see something as different. And smilingly he said, okay, this message which you have given to me, Avayar, this message is not for me alone. I want to say this to everyone who thinks they are other than the self. But how do I say this? Because to say it, there must be another. To say it, how does Bhagavan say this to us? He does not see any other. But then he surrenders to Arunachala. He's so complete that he says, okay, Arunachala, do as you will. Whatever is your ishtam, you do accordingly. Accordingly, he says, Yennam yeduvo adisevai. You do according to your will. And what did Arunachala do? Arunachala said, all right, since you have left it to me, and since there is no other for you, this jnana param through you apparently will reach everyone. Everyone will come to know. This message will reach everyone. That is the voice of Ramana. That is the secret declaration of Arunachala to Bhagavan. திரும்பி அகந்தனை தினமாக கண்காண் தெரியும் என்றனை. Arunachala. So Arunachala said, this is the message. Share this message. And again, Bhagavan was very shy even to speak it out. Because to speak it out, he felt was sacrilege. He says in Aksharamanamala, he says, வெளிவிட்டேன் உன் செயல் வெறுத்திடாது உன் அருள் வெளிவிட்டு என்னைக்கா. I have spoken about your glory. I have spoken about the majesty, the magnificence of this self-state. By speaking about it, I have committed a small sacrilege or maybe a big sacrilege. I have divided even to the extent of speaking. But on that account, O Arunachala, don't be angry with me, because it is your own purpose. That is the purpose for which you created me. அம்மையும் அப்பனுமாய் என்னை பூமியில் ஆக்கி அழித்து அம்மகிமாய எனும் ஆழ்கடல் வீழ்ந்திடு முன் என் மனம் மன்னி இழுத்து உன் பதத்தில் இருத்தினையா. You have fixed me at your feet. It is your purpose. செழிக்க தன்மயம் சிவக்க சின்மயம். So when the ஞானி, Bhagavan therefore adds this warning note. He says, don't imagine that there is differentiation in the Jnani's perspective. Don't imagine that just because that spontaneous flow of compassion, that spontaneous expression of grace is making the Jnani speak, act, share that state at all times. And we see this, I have seen this, and I continue to see it in so many who are blessed by Bhagavan to get to that same state in which he abides, to be that same Jnana Param. And we see them all acting, and they're all different from each other. Muruganar will be different from Vishwanatha Swami, will be different from Kanakamma. But we see then, if all these are differences that we see, but yet we can see in each and every one that glory of the Atma Tattva, which Bhagavan has said, has declared, is the stamp that will come through self-inquiry. He says that will come through surrender. And that is the fruit, that omniscience. So the mind has to understand that there is nowhere to go. That is the purpose of self-inquiry. There is nowhere to go. Because when we look at the thoughts, and Bhagavan says all are the same, all are only thoughts, then what is the big deal of being frenzied? What is the big deal of running behind one after another when all are the same? When there is no difference, there is no variety. Actually, the movement of the mind is in this apparent variety. You think there is lot of variety. The moment the variety disappears, the moment there is no difference, when it is all one and the same thing, then the mind will turn inwards to the real source, says Bhagavan. Through inquiry, it will recognize, as was told in the story of the monkeys. And Bhagavan gave that state to everyone. He gave that state. Even every devotee, Kanakamma says, I used to think of asking him so many questions. And I used to think, and in that Jubilee Hall, there was a place where I had to turn and go towards him. I used to think, everyone asks questions. I should also speak to Bhagavan. And she says, when I took that turn, slowly the parts of my body only will start disappearing. I will start melting. The parts of my body will just fall away, she says. Everything just drops away. There is nobody left to ask him any question or to say anything. There is nobody left. So Bhagavan gives that state, and he continues to give it. This satsang is just proof of that. Every time we meet, every time we say his name, every time we remember self-inquiry, even remember self-inquiry, let alone practice it, it is proof of his omniscience, his omnipresence, and his extravagance of grace, as Muruganar Swami says, to remind us again and again and again, this is bliss, the self is bliss, and there is nothing apart from it. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri.
Namo Ramaka.
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana Guruji and Pratnama. We can start the Ashtotram.
Yes, sir. Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितम् श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योमि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूणिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराजे नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्री शोणाचलरिक्पोतस्कन्धाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसाराधिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुदराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषद्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाह विवश सादात्म्यभावङ्गतः विन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासेकरान् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
ज्ञानदोषी